Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of Abundant Lifeu's 21 Days of Happy. I am so excited to have each of you on board. You are style icons in your own right and just beautiful women from the inside out. I would love to begin by just allowing you to share a little bit about your profession in the beauty industry. Mickey, why don't we start with you?
Well, okay. I am, I guess, First Lady of Beauty to women of color on a global level. For 30 years, I served as Essence Magazine's beauty and cover director before becoming editor at large about 10 years ago. But, I started out with Essence in 1980, and my job description said that I was to affirm the culture's definition of beauty. And I think had I not grown up in beauty school, so to speak, in my household, where beauty was a sacred subject and we learned self-nurturing practices and so forth at a young age, and my mother being hairstylist, makeup artist, and wardrobe stylist to the late American icon that was Sarah Vaughan. I think, between that, certainly beauty being a long-running conversation and how we saw ourselves, I might have been daunted by that job description. But, I entered beauty at a time when Black women, per se, were the invisible women. And so not only did I take it upon myself to hold up the mirror on Black womanhood on the pages that was Essence, and certainly on the cover, but to educate the beauty industry and help them understand how we saw beauty. And that was very different from other cultures. Beauty for us certainly is a form of self-expression, a form of, is part of our rituals. It's part of the truth of who we are. It is our most emotional purchase. And so, and so that certainly became, I guess, part of the legacy, if you will. I remember when I came of age, we were taught not to take the road well traveled, but to blaze a trail and leave a legacy. So if there's a legacy, and certainly it is one that I'm most proud of, having impacted the lives of women of color, and to this day, to teach them and to show us what it means to celebrate our beauty. So that's one division of Mickey Taylor. There's so many more, but that's as it pertains, I guess, to beauty. That is the one. Yeah.
I love that. And you've written, well, more than one book, I think, but you definitely have a book out right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I wrote Editor in Chic, How to Style and Be Your Most Empowered Self, my current book, because I was traveling the country and I was hearing far too much survival talk among us when we were created to thrive. And so I wanted to change the conversation. I only write books when I have something to say. And so it really talks to you about owning your life, celebrating your beauty, and certainly mastering your purpose with distinction. And the first chapter really asks you to recognize the queen that lies in you. And it talks about everything from knowing your value to creating time for self to treasuring your vision space. And then it just goes on from there to talk about all of you. And it closes with 25 steps to master you, Inc., the empire that God gave you to rule over. And and I brought in a number of sister friends because I don't believe in untested advice. So not only did I involve the dermatologists and the hair restoration experts, because I found out that over 27 million of us were losing our hair to some form of alopecia, said a lot about stress and how we're processing it, or rather how it's processing us. Dermatologists, plastic surgeons, wardrobe stylists, and then my sister friends like Jill Scott, Iyanla Van Zandt, Lisa Nichols, Yolanda Adams, different ones, because these are women who not only nurture their beauty, but they've been tested throughout life. And I'd like solid women, women that can stand in their heels and not wobble, so to speak. So they all tell their stories of self-esteem. I love how Jill Scott talks about how it's so much work to pretend to be someone else other than you're not, than who you are. And yeah, so that's the latest passion piece. I am really proud of it because women are buying multiple copies in that they are buying the hardcover, they're buying the trade paperback that just came out to mark it up, they're buying the ebook for when they travel, and then certainly the audio so they can have, I guess, the counsel, if you will, in their ear. But yeah, so that's my third book. My second book was Commander in Chic, Every Woman's Guide to Managing Her Style Like a First Lady. And I wrote that based on my firsthand observations of Michelle Obama for 10 years, from, you know, the time when she was so-called a senator's wife, if you will, even though to me she's always been her own woman, right through the White House years. And that one came out in 2011. And then the first one was Self-Seduction, and that had a wealth of people in it, from Halle Berry and Oprah and different ones. And again, it's because of relationships, and not only the value in them and what they have to share that will empower all of us, but really it's important that we own the many women who lie inside each of us. And so women who really live their lives full throttle, they embrace all of themselves, non-judgmentally, if you will. So
Love
yeah.
that. Thank you so much. And Miss Debbie Young, I would love for you to talk a little bit about your career in beauty.
Well, I started out as a child loving makeup, skincare. I can't even tell you how early it was. My dad was a barber. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I would always go to his barber shop and be slathering tonics and lotion all over me. And when I went to my cousin's house, I would always want to dabble whatever they had on their dressing tables. So whether it was a Maybelline eyeliner or Jergens lotion, you know, I was always doing something. But my mother, she taught us to be beautiful from within, because she always said, pretty is as pretty does. So she said, you have to act a certain way in order to be viewed a certain way. And she emphasized so many times, you know, you can be as cute as you want to, but if you have a nasty attitude or nasty insides, you know, you're not cute. So she taught us, you know, beauty is as beauty does, you know. But my dad, he had an eye for what we like to do. So he told me at 10 years old, he said, your name is going to be in credits. And I said, what are credits? I didn't even know what credits were. But he had observed the way that I was always trying to fix up a baby doll or little cousins and, you know, and my friends. And I said, what are credits? And he said, you see this? You know, you see all these names as this movie goes off. These are all the people that worked on this project, you know. So he told me that, and my father actually died before I ever did anything in the film industry. But I did know that I loved makeup so much, more so as I grew up, because all my friends would come to my house to get their face done before party or whatever. And the thing is that we grew up in the projects in East Baltimore, okay? But I thought I was rich, you know, because I had the love of family and all. But I found early on that when I did someone's makeup, they got up out of the chair feeling better, you know? Mm-hmm. So I use it as a tool, you know, for self-esteem, you know, because I'm a warrior for self-esteem. And it didn't matter what job I was doing. I worked for the Baltimore City Police Department. I was still doing makeup in the ladies' room, you know? So, you know, whatever job I did, I was always doing makeup. And it didn't dawn on me until I think I was pregnant with my second child that, you know what, I might be able to do this full time. So I decided that I was only going to work for the police department just a little while longer. and take whatever money I had saved to invest in getting my esthetician's license. Because I felt like if I'm gonna do makeup, I wanted to get the biggest license that I could get, in my state, so I could do everything. And to me, skincare is more important, because if your skin is not right, the makeup is not gonna be right. So it kind of evolved, and I was doing makeup in Saks Fifth Avenue, and one of my clients walked up to me and said that she was a journalist from Washington, and she said to me, I have to host a television show. She said, would you do my makeup? She said, they won't pay you, but they'll give you a screen credit. And that's how my career started, so.
And now
so
what
it was
do you
this,
do in makeup?
I'm sorry.
And now what do you do in makeup?
Okay, I am a makeup artist for the film and television industry. And the one that I've completed was Watchmen for HBO. I'm currently working on a Kate Winslet project called Mayor of Easttown, but we paused because of the current situation.
Yes,
But from The Wire to Treme to Underground, so many things, that I've worked on, and I'm so grateful.
And just a little personal story. I met Miss Debbie when I think I was maybe 19 or 20 years old with my very first television series, The Wire on HBO, and she was the department head, and she ministered to me so deeply and blessed me so much, to the point where I still have journals where I literally have things that you've said to me, Miss Debbie, from back then that still encourage me today, that you said to me while I was in the makeup chair. And then, of course, we worked together again on Treme on HBO. And I just want to say how much of a blessing you have been, and how you have impacted scores of people, including myself. So
well, I am so grateful, and I give all glory to God, because I do understand that this is his gift to me. And we are supposed to use our gifts, not just for ourselves, but to add value to the lives of others. And I truly believe it's my ministry. I've had countless people on projects that I work on walk up to me and say, you're here for more than just makeup.
Oh, yes.
And I know, and I'm so grateful, and that's a compliment. God is my agent, and wherever he wants me, that's where I'm going to be. Yes. And I know makeup may get my foot in the door, but I'm going to do his work when I get in there.
I love that, and I love you. Heather Hughes, you are just another beautiful sister who I've had the honor of working with, that you have helped to bring out my own style and sense of beauty. Can you talk a little bit about what your career has been in beauty?
Okay, my career and backgrounds. Okay, hi everyone. My career I started as an insurance broker. I did not start like Mickey or Miss Debbie in fashion, beauty, thinking anything big about it, because I'm first generation in this country. My parents are Caribbean, from Guyana, South America, and beauty, fashion, none of that was a career as far as they were concerned, or as far as my family's concerned. That is not a career. You become a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, that's a career, not beauty or fashion. So even when I started my own business as an insurance broker, even that really wasn't acceptable, because it's like, are you sure you're gonna make money doing that? You have to bring home a paycheck, do your 40 hours, bring home a paycheck, where's your benefits? That kind of thing. So I had an insurance brokerage with my now ex-husband, had that for almost 15 years. And even as an insurance broker, when I would walk into rooms, people would say to me, you sure you're an insurance broker? You don't look like an insurance broker. Are you sure you're not, fashion, beauty? You sure you don't do something in that industry? I'm like, no, I don't. I'm an insurance broker. I just always liked clothes and style and fashion, though, because my parents, even though they had traditional careers, they were very stylish and always neat, hair done, nails, the whole thing, always very neat, very stylish. Would always turn heads when they walked into a room. And I guess I inherited that from them. So long story short, after the marriage ended, got rid of the insurance brokerage, I was broke. sad, depressed, everything. What am I going to do with my life now? I don't really like doing insurance. And people that was in my church, my friends, where I initially met Edwina, my church group, they told me about, you know, Heather, you know, you have a gift for fashion and beauty. You just innately do it. It's just innate, you know, and you should consider a career in that. I'm like, a career in fashion? I'm like, how am I going to make money in fashion? There's people who's been doing this for years. They know what they're doing. This is just something I just do. I shop for my friends. I just do it. Long story short, one of my friends paid for me to take classes at FIT, took classes at FIT, met the right people, got connected. Even Edwina, I started working with Edwina, you know, I said, Edwina, you sure, you know, you could get people who are in the industry that are established that can dress you. And she's like, Heather, I trust in your ability. I trust God and I trust in your ability and I'm going to support you. And she did that. Edwina introduced me to Viola Davis. I worked with Viola Davis. Edwina introduced me to Denai Guerrera. I worked with Denai, a host of other people. It's just like, my career just grew from there, from one yes to God and him surrounding me with the right people. Because if you say yes to him, he does empower you. He will lift you up. And he did that for me. I'm grateful to Edwina, the beautiful women, the beautiful people in this industry. It's not, all of you ladies know, it's not an easy industry to be in at all. But I've had bittersweet moments, but I'm grateful for not just being, I don't consider myself as a fashion stylist, but an image stylist, and my company's name is Style Unleashed because of what Miss Mickey said, what Miss Debbie said. I believe that fashion and style and beauty is something that comes from inside. And Edwina even helped me develop my business name, Style Unleashed, because it's unleashing what's already inside. And I know you ladies can attest to, when you're working with someone in fashion or in beauty, when you really sit down and talk to them, it's almost like you're a psychologist. Psychologist, psychiatrist, social worker, everything. Like, well, why don't you like this about yourself? And why don't you like that color on you? And why don't you wear your hair this way? And you're working with them and you're unleashing something that they didn't even realize was already in them. Yeah. And that brings me the greatest joy. That's just beyond money, beyond recognition, beyond anything. It's just seeing people just be unleashed. And yeah, so I work with individuals, I do community work, I assemble teams backstage at New York Fashion Week, and that's just a way of me giving back. A lot of things that I do, I don't get paid for. I just have such a joy for doing it, you know? And that's for the most part, and I'm just amazed.
Thank you.
Ladies. Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, Ty, I would love for you to speak about your experiences in the beauty and style world.
Edwina, thank you so much for having me first and foremost, and to all of the beautiful women, including my beloved Mickey Taylor, who I actually just spoke to this morning. So Mickey is one of my mentors and fairy godmother, and also my fellow Newark native. I mean, everything, my big sister, my godmother, all the things. So I'm just deeply honored to be here with all of you. So much for Edwina for having me. So my beauty career, and I like to actually, I moved to really kind of expand the understanding of beauty, and I talk about identity because it really is an identity practice, I think, for women, especially for women of color. But from a professional standpoint, my beauty career started looking up at people like Mickey Taylor in the fashion and beauty industry as a magazine editor. So I started my career interning in magazines in the late 90s, and was able to be a part of the magazine launch of the Oprah magazine as its first fashion and beauty assistant in 2000, and had a career in beauty where I was able to, like Mickey, help shape the understanding of an individual's not only external beauty, but self-love and empowerment. And I think having started my career at Oprah magazine really helped dictate that. I say to people often that had I started my career at Vogue or at Marie Claire, it would be a very different approach to understanding identity and beauty. You know, starting at a magazine like Oprah, it was really about internal beauty, understanding self and empowerment. And that really has informed my entire existence, to be quite honest. But my love affair with beauty started as a young child with my grandmother watching her apply her red lipstick. And I don't know if any of you have had this experience watching a seasoned or mature woman apply a lipstick, and it would get to a point, like literally the lipstick was at a point. So when she applied it to a lip, it was straight up and down. It had the curve. And I just would look at my grandmother and just thought it was the most beautiful thing. But I also knew that for a woman like my grandmother, who worked hard to raise 3 children and then to help raise me as a single woman who went to college and graduate school in Newark, New Jersey, where I'm from, that it was a part of her armor. So as delicate as it was a way for her to show up in the world with confidence. It was a way for her to show up in the world and to speak life into herself and into others, literally, which is why I typically have on a red lip, but because I had on a red jacket today, I went with tonal. But the evolution of going from being a beauty editor, working at 17 magazine, where I made history, becoming the first African-American beauty director and youngest in the history of the magazine when I was 25 years old. And then evolving and moving into philanthropy, where I started to work directly with community and young people in my hometown of Newark, New Jersey. And it was then even more that the next level of crystallization and understanding of the power of identity and what it means, and how we can take something that is aesthetic and something that is outward and breathe life into someone. And that has afforded me to really inspire young people, especially young women of color, young dark-skinned, brown and Black girls, to recognize their own power and their own beauty, not because of what we look like on the external, on the outside, but really because of how we walk into a room and who we believe ourselves to be, because we are all children of God. So today, I have, as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur now for 14 years. I left magazine publishing what feels like a very long time ago, Mickey, so long ago. But as an entrepreneur, my company, Thai Life Media, as well as a new company that I just joined as co-founder called Brown Girl Jane, is really created in the spirit of helping women, especially women of color, to tell their stories with power, with integrity, with beauty, with understanding, with confidence, and also with vulnerability. Because I think that all of that makes us up. So I am indeed honored to be here with you and to share any wisdom and insight that I might have, and also to learn from all of you.
I just love that. Thank you so much, Ty. And I wonder, because all of the women here on this call, not only are you beautiful, but you're also empowering others. And it's really about helping other people to tap into their own beauty and discover it. And so I'm wondering what either your process was as far as discovering your own beauty, if there was an aspect where you didn't feel that you were as beautiful as you do today, or if there are things that you would share with someone else who maybe feels that way, like, listen, there's nothing special about me, I'm okay, or maybe I'm trying to fit the mold, but I kind of stick out. Or maybe no one's ever told me that I was beautiful or pretty, or maybe they tell me all the time, but I really honestly don't believe it. Mm-hmm. I just wonder, with the remarkable array of people that you're coming in contact with on a regular basis, what sorts of gems do you share with them to be able to come across this bridge?
I know for me, one of the things that, certainly self-acceptance is a powerful motivator. And one of the things I often write about and talk about is that what lies inside of you has the power to motivate or defeat you. And so that's why you have to watch where you receive information from. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a household where I had no reason to believe that I wasn't beautiful. And I grew up in a neighborhood in Newark, New Jersey, where all I saw was the many facets of beauty that the Creator had done in creating us, all shades, shapes, and sizes. And I think that it wasn't until I got out in the world, so to speak, when I started, in publishing really, and seeing certainly Essence being the only magazine speaking to Black women about its beauty and all of its glory, that we were, I guess, in the minority, and that there was a standard of beauty in this country that didn't include us. And so, but one of the things that, you know, being raised in a house where, you know, God could do anything but fail, we were always taught that if he only made one of you in the entire universe, that you didn't need any more validation than that. And so if you could just get your arms around that, your uniqueness, all that he did in creating you, that he didn't make any mistake in the way that you look, and that he was satisfied, that you better not tell or believe another story. And so, you know, one of the things that I tell women in talking to them is that, again, you've got to know your value. You've got to know who you are, because self-perception colors everything. So yeah, and beauty, the richness of it. First of all, it is an inner and outer principle, and you should not have one without the other. If one without the other suffers, because that means you're showing up in your lack. If you only believe that you have something going on in the inside and the outside holds it prisoner, well, how unfortunate. If you only believe you're beautiful on the outside, then you are living from the outside in. And what happens when your beauty's not trending? What happens when you come up against someone else who tells you other? Do you buy that? Do you buy the falsities that the world at large can feed you? So it has to be on something it has to be based on something that is sustainable and without question. And so if your beauty is deep-seated in the creator who made you, you won't be otherwise minded.
Love that. Love that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Did you have something to add, Miss Debbie?
No, I was just thinking, you know, how I just remember my father saying to me, just because they say it, don't mean it's so. I grew up in a home where they wanted us to believe them first. So we got all the positive information from my family. You know, of course you get out in the world, and then, you know, when you go through, I guess maybe your teen years or something like that, you know, you look and you see, or you think somebody looks better or do better, you know, that kind of thing, you know, peer pressure, you know, but I got married very young. My husband and I got married when we were 17 years old. And so I didn't have as much of a peer pressure issue as maybe other teens would, because then I was a mother. So I had to instill self-esteem into my children, you know? So I just found that walking to my own drumbeat was the only way that I would be able to set an example for my sons, because I did not want them to grow up to think that anybody else controlled their destiny. I told them they were born with every myself. You know, so I'm just very grateful for my rich upbringing in those projects of East Baltimore.
That's great. Thank you. Heather, did you want to add?
Yes, I did, because again, contrary to the ladies, in my household, again, it was mostly about do good in school, anything about beauty and all that was not okay. You be neat, go out. But even more so when I went out in the world, I was a dark-skinned, you know, Black girl from Caribbean culture, naturally kinky curly hair. In the 80s, going to school, I was not considered cute. I was told I was not cute. Oh, you're dark, you know, your hair is so nappy. I had big hips and a big behind, you know, bold legs. And in the 80s, growing up in Brooklyn, that wasn't cute. It's cute now, because like what Miss Mickey touched on, you know, are you gonna submit yourselves to disbelieve what the trends say? Because now it's all the rage to be hippie and have a big behind. People are paying top dollar to have the Kim K body, right? I had that body when I was 12. You understand what I mean? And it's really hard when you're 12, 13, 14 years old and the boys your age are teasing you, and grown men in the street are calling to you. What do you, you know, what do you do with that? What does that do to a young girl's mind? So I went through years of being confused about who I was. Am I attractive, or am I really ugly? What, you know, I went through all of that, and I didn't get the affirmations that, you know, and I don't hold my mom, I'm not mad at her or anybody. I didn't get those affirmations at home, that you're really beautiful, you know, your skin is gorgeous, you know. I didn't get that. I didn't. And it took me a long time. It took me a long time. I would look at magazines like Essence and things like that, and that informed certain aspects of my being. But it wasn't until I really had a real revelation that, for me, my journey really came from God. And then I had people like Edwina and certain friends of mine that affirmed those things for me. And even when I had my daughter at a young age, I had her at 21. When I had my daughter at a young age, I realized that I wanted to be able to instill in her from a young age that you're beautiful, your skin is beautiful, your hair is beautiful, you know, you're beautiful, not because you came out of me, but because you were created in the image of God. And that's what I go out into the community and teach. That's what I told models when I'm helping to dress them backstage and putting my teams together. I get the kids from FIT and Parsons and everything, and I put together these teams. I tell them that that's part of what we're doing. And I say it, even though it might not be the right thing to say, I'm like, what we're doing is ministry. And there's a lot of these models who are back here. There's a lot of these, you know, talent that we're helping that really don't, even though they're being showcased as being beautiful, they really don't think that they're beautiful. They really don't feel beautiful. You know, a lot of these people are suicidal. A lot of these people don't think that they're beautiful. And I remember going through that when I was a young age, like, you know, why am I even here? I don't feel beautiful. My friends, I always thought that they were more beautiful than me. They had, you know, most of my friends were lighter skinned than me. They had straight, nice hair. They were mixed, you know. I didn't have that. So I'm grateful, and I'm grateful for my journey, because sometimes, you know, when you encounter people, they will say to you, well, what do you know? You don't know what it's like to feel ugly. You don't know what it's like to be poor. You don't know what, I'm like, oh yeah, I can testify to all of that. So I'm grateful for my journey. As hard as it was, I'm grateful for my journey. I'm grateful for my blessing. I'm grateful for God unleashing me and putting me out into the world and planting me where he needs to plant me, to help people to understand that it's from the inside out, outside in, and what you give out, the power that is in what we do, because it's so trendy. Fashion and beauty is so trendy, but there's such great power in what we do. And I'm grateful to be used to do what I do. I'm grateful to be a tool used in the hands of God.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, yeah.
You know, I wanted to touch on not necessarily just my own personal journey with identity and beauty and being affirmed, but I think it's very interesting, and I think it's important to note that we live in a time right now, especially for younger people, where social media and the perceptions and what is presented as ideal and beautiful they're bombarded with it. And it's a very different way from the way that I grew up with magazines, where you had to wait every single month, you know, to actually get it. But every single day, you know, so many young people, whether or not they're on TikTok or Instagram, and this idea of comparison. And, you know, what I'm fortunate to say that my family, my grandmother, my mom, and my family instilled in me was just really an understanding of self-worth and self-value. And what everyone said here on the panel is that it starts within you. And I caution when I speak to young people, because I'm super passionate about mentoring and coaching young women especially, is that you have to know when to tune out the noise and work on yourself. And beauty is not an aesthetic. I mean, it's more than aesthetic. It's not about the lipstick you wear, but it's about, you know, how you're nurturing yourself, how you show up in the world, like who you become, who you want to become, all of those things. And I struggle right now, because as I talk to a lot of young women, they're so distracted by the images that they're bombarded with, that it takes them away and takes them out of off the axis of really doing the work to work on developing that inner understanding of what real beauty is. And so I you know, even as I think about my own journey, I just encourage people and women, especially young women, to do the work in silence you know, those external forces and those external images that you're trying to live up to and work on understanding who you are, who God made you to be, why you are here, how you're expected and should and can show up in the world. And then all of that practice, I think, becomes something that manifests itself externally.
You know, I want to say too that, you know, one of the things that my mother used to always say to me, she used to say, it's not what other people think of you that matters, it's what you think of yourself that counts. And I remember my mother opened her own beauty salon in Newark, and I remember all of those women coming to get their hair done, and I realized that they weren't coming to just get great hairstyles. They were coming to affirmation. They were coming to view the conversations, the external conversations where their beauty was totally negated, but they were so empowered through the fellowship and the confirmation that was happening between them that they could then go back out in the world and be themselves and celebrate beauty and not comparison, which is what so many young women suffer from today, and how the old adage says it's a thief of all joy, which it really is.
It is.
They compared themselves to anyone. They were only trying to be the best version of the woman they saw in the mirror every day. So that's why they took great pride in showing up. That's why they had the latest lipstick, whereas, let's say in the industry, we call other cultures the general market, they might have the same staple. Sisters had multiple colors. Every color or work for us, we've got it. So again, that's how we saw ourselves from the inside out. And it doesn't mean that they weren't challenged. I mean, I remember women in my mother's circle like Ella Fitzgerald. Ella had diabetes. She was not the perfect size 6, if you will, in comparison to the other women on the variety shows and the popular singers, or Sarah, you know, being a chocolate brown beauty. And so, you know, the list goes on, but these women had something inside, you know, wellspring inside of them is what allowed them to not only appreciate their beauty, but celebrate it. And I think we need more of that today, more of that.
And to that point, Mickey, I just want to add, one of the things that I have realized for myself, even on my journey, and I'm in my 40s now, is that the days that I feel most beautiful might not necessarily be the day that I'm hosting an event and I'm all glammed out, or on a red carpet, or doing what have you. It's when I feel most whole and full in myself is when I feel most beautiful. And sometimes the lash might be half on at that point. So,
we've all had that
moment. Listen, the lash might be half on, the hair is slicked back and not done. But you know, the reality is that that's what I think the message is like, we have to be really willing and to encourage people to be intentional about that work that comes with it. Because even as I recount some of the days of my professional career in the beauty industry, I certainly didn't always feel beautiful then. Certainly.
And I think that women need to spend more time self-nurturing. You know, and I tell you, I feel most beautiful when I'm engaged in those rituals that put back into me, when I'm striking oil on this temple. That has nothing to do with the red carpet or photo session. Nobody can capture that but me and God, you know? But I feel most beautiful. And I think that if we weren't in such a hurry with ourselves, if we weren't the belief that the grass is greener on the other side, when we have looked at our own territory, we wouldn't feel that way. We wouldn't be so vulnerable. We wouldn't be thirsty for how many likes we get, or look how many.
It doesn't.
We would.
Let the church say.
Preach.
Let the church say. Hey.
I want to piggyback on that. I want to piggyback on that, because I came from, when I was married, I had a big house in the middle of Brooklyn. It was like the showcase house. And it's like, wow, they're so successful. They're driving all these fancy cars and these fancy bags, and all these things are happening, And yes, I've had some success in fashion industry and everything else. And but I did have a steep decline and then had to climb back up. And I can honestly say to you ladies and anybody who might be watching that who I am today, I'm in a smaller apartment in the middle of Brooklyn, and I am happier than I have ever was in that McMansion in the middle of Brooklyn with all the fancy clothes, some of which I still have today because, you know, when you spend the right thing and buy the right thing, there's something to that too. But it's also nice to live in a place like New York where you can shop at the, you know, the outlets and shop off season and still get the top thing, you know. But I just want to say what you guys are saying is so true, because it's how you feel about yourself and what you really put value to. Because Edwina will be the first to tell you, I feel most beautiful when I'm in my cozy robe with a mask on, sipping on tea. That's when I feel most beautiful, most secure, sitting here listening to worship music. That's when I feel like, zen. You know, I really do. And I really do think that we do need to take the time. And maybe now, you know, there's a reason why God slows things down. I don't think he bought the pandemic. I think he allowed things to happen. Slow it down. Get back into, you know what, let me sit and take some honey and smear it on my face. Let me smear that coconut oil on, and let me take time now. Let me slow this down. And let me pick up in my Bible and actually read a scripture as opposed to read a scripture. Maybe I'll read a chapter, because before I was just doing a scripture today. Maybe I'll read a chapter now. Maybe, you know, because I have a little bit more time on my hand, because now I'm not rushing to get to that red carpet or rushing to get to that next event or rushing to go sit down in the coffee shop and, you know, fraternize and see who walks by and who does this. Now I can spend time to really get to know me. And even if you were already doing those things, I think we can be more intentional about what the outcome of it's going to be now, because we have time to think. We have time to really channel the information that we allow in. Even though we can allow ourselves to be bombarded with so much information from social media, we now can take the time to say, you know what, I don't think I really even want to follow this person anymore, because this is really informing me in a way that I really want to go. What is this going to do for me after this pandemic?
Wow.
Is this something that's really going to help me to help myself, and more importantly, help others? How am I going to use this information? You know, and balance, like we've learned from our Pastor A.R. Bernard, hey, balance is the key to life. And we just need to create that balance in every area of our life. And
I just love listening to each of you, because it sounds like there's so much joy and celebration in beauty if you allow it to be that authentic and come from a deep place on the inside out, versus trying to get all the accoutrements and put them on and try to make yourself feel or look a certain way, but that it's literally about cultivating your spirit and cultivating your soul. You all are so inspiring. Can you just tell us in conclusion where we can follow you, where we can find out more about you and perhaps buy your products, or if you all do personal coaching, where we can connect with you?
Well, everybody can connect with me and certainly continue all of these conversations on social media at I Am Mickey Taylor. They can find me on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, certainly on Facebook. But and Editor-in-Chic is available everywhere you are. It is hardcover, ebook, trade paperback, and it is an audio version as well. Yeah,
I definitely am going to pick up my copy. I can't wait to read it.
If you DM me, you can arrange to get a personalized copy.
Nikki, did you record your own audio for the audiobook?
I did. I went.
Perfect. So I'm downloading that one. That's the one I'm going to download.
You just want to hear her voice soothe you as you get into your editor-in-chic mood. I love it.
I'm going to do the audio
follow
one.
You.
Thank you.
Ms. Debbie, how can we follow you or find out more about you?
Oh, well, actually, I'm Debbie Makeup on Instagram, but I'm also Debbie Young, you know, on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. I don't do Twitter as much.
Okay.
But, you know, but I just wanted to add that I just believe that this time we have right now is a gift.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's a gift of reset. You know, I have been running for the last 4 or 5 years from project to project to project. So I am grateful for this time, you know, and I want to use every moment that to-do list that I couldn't do before. And it's just a time to really connect deeply to love of your family and your friends, you know. So it's just been, I just think this is a gift from God, you know, in spite of all this, what's going on, you know. I just think that we just have to use this time to be, you know, deeper and closer spiritually.
Yes, that's so well said. Heather, how can we follow you or connect with you?
Yes, I am on Instagram and Twitter at style_unleashed. That's my business name. And Facebook and LinkedIn under Heather Hughes.
Great.
Yes.
Hi.
So on Instagram, I am at Taibeau, T-A-I-B-E-A-U. I think that's it on every platform, and I'm pretty responsive. And I just joined Brown Girl Jane as co-founder and chief brand officer, and super excited about the product and the mission of why we're here, which is to really help women of color to be whole and to really celebrate and nurture their whole selves. So it's a wellness and CBD company. Super excited. It's created by 3 Black women, all Spelman alums, 2 sisters, for the express purpose of helping women of color understand the power of CBD in nurturing themselves.
Beautiful. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time. You have inspired me today, and I hope that you're leaving inspired as well.
Absolutely.
Of course.
You all are so beautiful. I mean, honestly, like, I'm looking at Miss Debbie's skin, I'm looking at Heather's skin, I'm looking at Edwina's skin, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you all
and
are
we're
so
looking
beautiful.
at yours.
Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. So
yes,
beautiful.
And the stylist in me is really loving this color story. You see how God just put this whole together? Look at that.
Exactly.
The turquoise and the reds and the oranges. And I too didn't wear the red lipstick tie because I had on orange today.
I typically, everyone knows, I typically have on my red lip. It's normally my ode to my grandmother, to Mary. So yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Well, you ladies have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And thank you so much for taking the time. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Love and
so
blessings. Love
Edwina.
you all.
This was a blessing.
It was a
Thank
blessing.
you.
It's an honor to be with all of you.
Thank you, ladies.
You so much. I'll connect with everyone on social.
Yes.
Ciao.
All right, God bless. Have a blessed day, ladies.
You too. Take care. Thank you.